Sam!
Hey, what's up?
How's it going?
I'm back.
Again, huh?
Good to see you, Jeff.
Good to see you too. So we're back at the job site where we use the Sashco transformation stain on this cedar shake.
Yeah, it turned out really well. We like the finish, so does the customer. That's the most important thing. And we know that with the right maintenance, this is going to last a long time, and it's going to be very easy to maintain. That's what's great about that product. But today we want to talk to you about this Conceal product from Sashco. It's basically designed to disappear with different colored woods. It has texture in the caulking itself, so it's going to give you that kind of wood grain feel to it instead of a real smooth look like Big Stretch might have. So what we're going to do now is basically we want to wipe this substrate down a little bit just to get some of the dust off of it. Since we haven't been here in a couple weeks, it's kind of dirty. There's a construction site happening right next to us. So we want to do everything we can so we can promote that good adhesion. After we do that, we're actually going to put tape down and then caulk over this tape. We might not do that everywhere, but on some of these really low areas where our eyes are right on it, we want our lines to be as dialed in as possible, and we feel like this is going to be the best way for us to achieve that. So I'm just going to use some of this Dolphin washi tape. And I'm going to, go ahead.
So this Conceal is basically like a Big Stretch. We took their color sample and brought it over after we had stained this, and we chose the redwood. And this, I think it comes in about, what, 8 colors or something?
Yeah, it comes in quite a few different colors.
And Sam recently went to the Sashco log home zero failures. I've been to their standard zero failures several times. But he just attended that and learned a whole bunch of stuff about stains and their different caulking and chinking materials. And as he was telling me, and he can elaborate a little bit more on this, this is kind of used in the smaller areas on like log homes where the chinking would be, it's too small of an area for the chinking.
Yeah, basically anything that's 1/4 of an inch or bigger, then you can get into sealing it up a different way. Maybe you put some backer rod or some kind of bond breaker in there, and then we learn to apply the sealant in a certain manner so that it can move with the crack or whatever kind of checking is happening on the log.
Okay.
The smaller holes, or I should say the smaller checks, a lot of times they'll have us just fill that with material. But sometimes for an aesthetic purpose, we want to make it look a certain way, or maybe it needs to perform under, tougher standards than the certain areas that we can just fill with the material. That's when we'll switch over to the Conceal.
Okay.
Start using that. So as you can see here, I've just put some of the tape down. I just got to hit this last spot.
We trust Big Stretch. We use that on everything. So it's awesome that they have these other product lines that have the similar technology to Big Stretch, where it's super stretchy, not going to crack, but then they add these additives into it. They've got one for mortar and brick as well, stucco, called Moreflex. It's a similar type of product, but it's really awesome to have these customized caulking materials for the specific application and not just using your standard caulking all the time. So Sam's going to go ahead and start to apply this. So let's go ahead and get a little closer look.
Now when I'm cutting this tube, I want to pick out how large of a bead I want to lay down. It's pre-marked on the tube here. It says, what does that say? 1/3, 3/16, 1/4 inch, and 5/16. So I think I'm going to go with a 3/16 cut right here, just to have it a little bit bigger. I want more material. We don't want micro beads. We want this product to be able to do what it's designed to do. And with that being said, we also know that the product's going to shrink a little bit too, so I don't mind going with a little bit bigger. I'm going to try to do a nice smooth cut. That doesn't look too bad here. Right on the money, actually. So that's pretty nice. I always like to just kind of look at this tip too. If has some kind of little piece of plastic or something on there,
Nubbin?
Yeah, a little nubbin. That's going to affect the way that the bead lays down to decipher how much you might actually have to tool it. So,
lovely windy day too.
Yeah, lovely windy day here. Hurricane force winds the last few days. So, All right, let's see what we can do.
So you also got a new cocky gun there.
Yeah, new caulking gun. This is the Tajima Convoy Light. I've never used this gun before, but it just looked really cool and I wanted to try it out. I have a bunch of different caulking guns. I'm always trying to find that holy grail. So let's see what this one does. I always keep a wet rag or a sponge. Normally I'm a sponge guy, but I don't have any today, so we have rags. All right, so I want to make sure I prime the head of the caulking gun here. You can, I don't know if you guys can get in there, yeah. The fact that I can see that caulking means I don't have to puncture it. I don't think these tubes need to be punctured. You can see it's starting to come out there. Excellent pullback on this gun. Look at how, as I just initiated and primed that, it's not still coming out. So right there for me, that's like, wow, that's very impressive. Look, a little bit more, stop, stop, stop. I mean, that's top notch right there. So, all right, let's lay this bead down and see what we can do. Notice too, like each time that I'm done, I try to get this clean so that when I go into the next little cavity, it's going to not have a little trail of some kind of, you know, caulking blurb or whatever. Get up under here. This is where a sponge works really nice, because a sponge you can just kind of collapse into the corner. And I'll come back and tool some of this in a second. I'm just trying to lay this bead down.
How's the gun feel?
The gun feels amazing, actually. This is one of the best guns I think I've ever used.
Their products are awesome.
Yeah.
Got a couple other.
Now here we got this like little floppy piece of wood right here. So I'm just gonna like pull this back and try to maybe get some more in there to help get that to kind of lay down and seal up. I'll come back on the outside.
I like it.
Hit that too. I'm always going up in here, and I'll push it until I start to see it come out here, and I know that I've filled that little void, and I twist the gun out. Take here. See, now that I need a little bit more caulking in that, so I think I'll just start right here, push the gun into the caulking, and then I'll start to do it again. Now I know there's quite a bit of caulking in that little spot. Okay, and as we get down lower, do the same thing, put it up in this little void, and now start to squeeze it until I see this start to push out. Now I know I got quite a bit of caulking up in there. And I twist my gun out as I pull it down. I don't want to just pull it out like that, because it might drag the bead and have a little string there. So, especially as I have a bigger void here versus some of the other areas, I'm going to have to go slower with the caulking gun and pull a little harder too. And you can see I'm really getting a lot in there.
But then you can just tool it in.
I'm going to tool that, yeah, so it won't look like that when we're done. And this one I'm going to go from underneath first, start to see it, push the gun out. And this one I'm going to run vertically. All right, so Some of it needs a little bit more tooling than other spots. This is where a sponge would really come in handy, because a sponge, as you like to tool things, the sponge absorbs the caulking really well, so you don't end up with like areas like this, right? And that might affect when I'm wiping again.
You want a sponge? I got one.
You got
Oops, we got a sponge.
a sponge we got. All right, look at this. And we want to cut this. You spread it open while you cut, so you get a nice clean cut. I think I talked about this before on another Sashco video. I like little tiny ones so that you can have a lot of them, right? You save a lot of money doing that. Depending on what you're doing, you might need a large one. So this one I'm going to cut again. And in terms of learning every day, you know, Jeff handed me this sponge and it's just like a little damp. And I've actually never cut one when they were little damp like this, and it's making it a lot easier to run the blade through.
Interesting.
So go figure, right? Same thing here. Want a nice clean cut. No little nubbins like that, right? That ends up in the caulk. All right, sponge. Get the sponge nice and wet. Squeeze out most of the water, right? Now the sponge can be used to tool itself like this, but a lot of times I'll just hold it and use it to wet my finger, and my finger is the tool. Since we have tape on the transition stain part, we don't need to really be super mindful about getting excess stain over there. We're worried about the black. We want to make sure that we try to keep that line as straight as possible. Like right here, that's a pretty nice one, right? The only imperfection potentially is up in there. You know, that needs to be smoothed out. But otherwise, that's pretty good. This one's not too bad either. The first one, a little shaky, but we're just kind of getting the hang of that one. So the feel of the gun, right? And then as we progress, we get a little better. Until we reach this point where more caulking needs to be applied in those areas. So how do I knock that down without getting a bunch of caulking onto the black? So basically I'm gonna come through, I'm gonna get my finger wet, and I'm just gonna very lightly touch this caulking. See how there's nothing on my finger? I'm just literally barely touching this. Now it's been up there for a little bit, so I can see a little sagging on it as I touch it. See how it starts to pull? That's okay. It's not gonna be the end of the world. I'm just gonna come and keep playing with it. Notice each time I touch it, I'm wetting my finger. Now this one, since it looks like it's sagging more, I'm going to wet my finger even more. Keep rubbing until I get it nice and smooth, right? Same thing up here. I can come back, get it nice and wet. This one was done even before. You see I'm reworking that, and it's getting nice and smooth. Okay, and I come into that corner. Maybe I go like this with the sponge. Right, something like that. Now this spot where it's not so straight, you know, that's unfortunate, but I don't think I'm going to let that ruin my day. I'm not going to stop tooling this stuff to focus too much on that. I probably could have just left that bead alone. Look, as I start to tool it, it changes. But we're doing this for the sake of the video and to teach.
I've also noticed a lot of times if you have a little bit of residue that's close to the edge, it's hard to get it off now without like screwing up your line. So
yeah, and I'm gonna wipe a little harder just because it is drying quick because the sun's beating on it, and we're at elevation and it's windy, so kind of everything's working against us.
But sometimes I'll come back the next day if I see a little bit of residue there, or after the caulking's dry, you can just take and rub your finger on it and wipe that off, or even a wet rag. So like if you come back and you're like, oh man, I left a little residue there, I think it's easier after this portion is dry to get that off.
So now, since it's been a while, I'm getting a lot of pulling up there. I'm going to use more water and dilute this. So like this piece, more water is going to help me smooth that out. Always dipping, trying to keep it clean. This one's a good example where it was starting to pull and then it stopped. come back through like that, give it a nice wipe. This area is pretty big. You can see even the nails kind of got something going on like it wasn't even in. We might touch that up with black. Right? You know, very wet finger. See how I'm touching that, it's not pulling at all because my finger's so wet. Right? This one, there's a lot of caulking in that. So if I saw that first before when I was putting this tape down, I might have put some tape on the black on that spot specifically just to help avoid that. This one I haven't touched really, but I'm going to get super wet finger and just lightly go over top of that so you can see how this one doesn't pull. A little bit right there, but I was wiping too much. But the more that my finger's wet, or if I had a spray bottle and I sprayed it with some water or some Windex that doesn't have blue in it, that would have helped me to tool this. I probably, since we were talking on the video, as soon as I laid the bead down, I should have taken some Windex and just hit it all so that while we were talking, we could have kept that nice and wet. So you can see how, like, when you work with the materials, you know, you need to be mindful that it's go time, you know? Even this, though, this will break back down, right, with a nice wet finger. What do you think? Well, I think I went a little too much. That's what it should be like, not like that. But I can come back and tool that.
So you're pulling away from it.
Yeah, all right. So let's talk about pulling. Some guys will just pull it like this, right? And you'll get more of that type of look right there. If you pull it at a 45, right? You got this coming. It'll cut through it a little nicer.
It doesn't lift it up as much. And then
doesn't lift it up as much.
Keeps you having to retool it, right?
But I need to be mindful, right? Like in this type of application for caulking, you need to make sure you're close to that line, but you don't want to be too far over. I know earlier I said, like, when we get down to here, it might be a little different. There's like another one over there. You want one?
No. But you definitely can give it to the guys next door.
Okay. I'll drop one off. A lot of times, as a painter, when I'm tape caulking stuff, I'm putting the caulk into the gap, and then I wipe a lot of that caulking off so that I expose the tape again, so I don't have a very high ridge, right? Like that's my goal, because finish is reigns supreme. In this type of application, you know, we're going for how this is going to function and do its job. So we need a bigger bead. We can't have a micro bead like most of the caulking in painting. But again, I'm going to keep pulling this like that, right, at a 45. As we get to some of the bigger spots down here, let's see, right? Now I might come and bring it like this, because there's so much.
Makes the line a little straighter.
See that? Boom. So that's the difference between when I'm nice and tight, I'm at a 45, or if I'm pulling it for a dried material or something where I need it to cut differently, that's how I pull it at a 45. But if there's more caulking, the process is better up higher. So you just need to be really mindful about, you know, the application you're dealing with. Look at that tiny piece of wood now.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we talked about this black, right? The void is so big right there that, you know, we didn't put any backer or any bond breaker right there. We just put a decent amount of conceal in there. But the aesthetic black part, we're gonna have to touch that back up. So pretty decently straight line, not a ton of retooling that we'll have to do. A little bit up here, a little bit right here. This is where we switched of how we were pulling the tape. But most of the lines look pretty good up against the stain. Shake. Now these spots that need to get tooled, just very lightly, I might come and take the sponge and get them wet first, getting the whole area kind of wet. And then just very gently touching this stuff. And trying to get that to seal back down. You see how that's sealed right there? Now this one, since I keep coming down and how I pull it, I need to go back up, which I knew was going to make that kind of imperfection in the line, but I had no choice there. All right, same thing with this. I'm going to get it nice and wet. Just barely touch that. That's just to seal those little edges that might have popped up from the tape. Super wet though, you got to keep it super wet. This would be a spray bottle would be great right now. Just like before, we needed a sponge, and now we have the sponge, but we want something else.
I've got a spray bottle too. But we're close to done. And you want that contact down on that substrate to make sure that you're getting that seal.
Yep. Yeah, because we don't want to lose adhesion right there since we're not really on the substrate. So we want to push that back down. Now this one where it got a little funky, I'm going to take like the square edge. Just try to get that back in. Now I'll hit it with the water. Yeah, the sponge is super wet. It's like dripping.
Look at the beating of the water on that stain. That's awesome.
If we ever got any rain, we might be able to do that. Okay, these ones look pretty good down here. As we go.
Yeah, I think they're all pretty good on the rest of them, huh?
Yeah. You know, this one had that awkward thing with the tiny little toothpick piece right here. So, you know, I don't know if best practice would be to put some into this, but we might have to just discover that on the back end.
All right. Looking good, Sam.
All right. Sounds good. All right.
Nice work.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
We just finished up using the Sashco Conceal in what color is this? Redwood. This product's awesome. We filled all these edges right here on this cedar shake shingle siding. Say that 5 times fast. Very difficult. We got the team working on the rest of the house. They're basically going around and caulking all the areas that need to be caulked. Also around all the lights and any other exterior penetrations. And yeah, we're really excited to have access to products like this.
That's awesome.
You know, we love working with Sashco and using their products every day. It just kind of makes life a little bit easier. And then when you have such a cool group of people that you get to deal with, that makes it even better. So kudos to Sashco for making such great products and also being a local company.
Yeah, love it. Love it. And I'll come back in a day or so when this dries up, because it's probably going to darken up. I'll take some finished photos of it, so we'll share those as well. But really happy with the stain, the caulking that's going in. Building looks really good. And this is holding its color, it's holding its shine. This is a south-facing wall. It's been getting beat down here
Every day,
and it's still looking really good. And I'm sure it will for years to come, and it's easy to maintain for the homeowners. So
very easy to maintain, yeah. That's why we love that product.
excellent.
Well, thanks, Sashco, and thanks, ADU, for you.
Thanks, Colorado Painting Company.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Likewise.